So welcome to the fourth lecture. So we are going to continue the topic of yesterday for a few minutes, and then we'll change the topic to something else. So remember that we are still in the context of brain tumors, still interested in the drug temozolomide. Remember that yesterday we saw several PK50 models, including one OD-based model at the cell level for the PK only of the drug, one spatial model also for the PK only, and then one OD model at the PK50 level. Everything was at the level of the cells. Okay, I have put here a picture of Petri dish. So this is typically something that we can model with mathematical model I showed you today. So now the idea is to go one scale up, to go at the level of the whole body, because this is what is really interesting. This is where the patients are, this is who we are, and this is what the clinicians do. So then there are actually two challenges here, which are described in the literature as the in vitro, in vivo extrapolation. When you have a mathematical model at the level of the cells, the in vitro models, typically the ones that we yesterday, and you want to go in vivo, so you want to go in the whole body, or at least you want to represent the blood and the effect of the whole body on your tumor. So this is called, sometimes this is called sometimes this is called IV, if you want a keyword to search for the net. This is called IV. And then something else, another challenge is to actually scale different species, because you may have mathematical models in animals, usually it's in the mouse, because it's the most studied animal. And you want to scale your mathematical model from the mouse to the human, because most of the time you have plenty of data basically at the level of the animal, and you want to analyze that data with a mathematical model and then translate this knowledge for humans, for patients. So I'm going to show you what we have done for temozolomide. So let's start first. So here we are at this level, okay? We are at the level of the cell culture, and the idea is to go to the mice. So we want this type of model here, where basically you have here the compartment of brain tumor, and here, so we are going to have only one cell type, but here I have several, because just to let you know that we can do several. So here we have one cell type. This compartment, the green one, is going to be the same as the intracellular compartment that we had in the models, intracellular compartment. And this one, the interstitial grid, will be equivalent to the extracellular compartment. So basically, if you just take the blue part here, you have something which is equivalent to the models I have showed, where you have two compartments, one intracellular and one extracellular. And basically, for instance, those transport parameters between those two compartments can be inferred from the in vitro study. I will show you more. Then the tumor is inside the whole body. And the interface between the whole body and the tumor is blood. Okay? So the whole body will modify the blood, and then the blood will go into the tumor. So this is here, this compartment. And basically here, we don't have much, or we don't want to go into the mechanisms that will modify the blood compartment, because we probably don't have the data. We are also not interested in that. We are only interested in how the blood actually acts on the tumor. So in order to model this, and also very often in the absence of precise data for the rest of the body, what we do is that we are going to put a forcing function here in the blood. That is not a mechanism-based model. Okay? This is not a mechanism-based model. It's just a model that is here to represent the shape of the data. So here, for instance, I showed you. So on the x-axis you have on the x-axis here you have the time, and on the y-axis you have the concentration of temozolomide in the blood of the mouse. Okay, and so you do have the points here, white blood points, and the idea is not to model the mechanism. The idea is just to have a model that will provide a shape that is very close to this particular data. And one way to do that is actually to use the compartment model, the one compartment model I showed you at the beginning of this lecture, assuming oral administration, because here this is oral administration. And this is basically that. So now you can say that the concentration of temozolomide in the blood is equal to the source term. So now basically this is just the A0, if you remember the A0. You just solve one ODE and you get the exponential solution. And then you have a clearance here, which is usually due to the clearance through the kinase, so the renal clearance. So if you solve this, you can actually have an explicit solution if you want, but it's easy to derive. You get this curve. I mean, of course you get this curve if you fit the parameters. As you can see here, you have three parameters, C0, Ka, and Kp. So you take this model, you fit the three parameters on this curve, and this is what you get. And basically this is the first step. And from now, you have a forcing function, which is just a function over time that does not depend on the other variables of the model. Okay, so you really need to see this as an input into your system that will not be influenced by your system. So now that we have this compartment, which basically sends by itself and calculates everything that is happening at the level of the whole body, we need to add details here. Okay. So for the mathematical model of the mice, we decided to have the brain tumor, but also the normal brain for control because we have data in the normal brain. So this is the mathematical model for the mice. So here you have the blood compartment here, so remember this is the forcing function. And then here you have the brain tumor, so exactly what I described, where you have the extracellular compartment. In the in vivo case, we call it the interstitial fluid. This is where the cells are floating in, let's say. They are not floating, are in. And then here you have the same model as in the other in vitro model. As you can see, you have temozolomide intracellular, TIA, that becomes anti-IC intracellular, then that becomes the cation, and then that makes the DNA image. So on the DNA. And then the next step is how to estimate parameters. As you can see here, we have so the intracellular parameters are going to stay the same. We have already estimated them in the in vitro. So. Can you repeat why you explain what? So here I'm not going to divide into this is an example. Here I'm not going to divide into 3 like so this is not 3, this is 1 to n. So you can have as many as possible from 1 to 80. So in my example, I'm going to have 1, okay, and here in the drawing, this is just to show you that you can put more than 1, okay. But if you want, the reason why we can have more than 1 is because the tumor can have different cell types. You can have resistance versus sensitive cells, for instance. So in that case, you will have cell type 1 equals sensitive, cell type 2 equals resistant, for instance. Okay. Okay, so now, yeah, so here you only have 1 cell type, because here you only have 1 compartment here for the intracellular temozolomide. And so basically, this is the structure of the model, and as you can see, we have a lot of parameters, well, not a lot, 3 parameters to estimate. And so the whole idea of scaling from in vitro to in vivo is to use what we have done in vitro for in vivo. For this, what we are going to do is to keep the parameter estimate that we have estimated in the in vitro setting for the intracellular compartment. So basically, we assume that the model is the same in vitro and in vivo, that the cells behave the same when they are in a petri dish versus in the body. So now we need to scale the transport parameters because they do depend on the volume, or more precisely, they do depend on the contact surface between the two compartments. As you may remember from the definition of the first quick law, the parameters of the transport between two compartments through a cell membrane will depend on the contact surface between the two compartments. And the way that we have done that is basically, because we do have information on these transport parameters from the in vitro data, we have just scaled proportionally to the volume. So as you can see, it's already an approximation because that would be probably better to scale with the surface. Actually, we will try and we'll talk about this later. So what we say is that PT tumor, so PT is the parameter of the uptake of temozolomide from extracellular to intracellular. PT tumor means PT in the in vivo case, in mice, will be equal to PT, which is the value in vitro, multiplied by the ratio of the volumes. So you have the volume of the tumor divided by the volume of the cells in the in vitro setting. And it's the same for the extracellular. So you scale with the intracellular compartment, because this is the intracellular compartment that drives the contact surface. Okay? If you have few cells here, let's say in vitro, then you have a large tumor in vivo. And here this is the in, and here is the tumor. And basically this will tell you the contact surface, because basically here what we assume is that the contact surface is actually every cell relation that they are listed together. So everything in blue here will be the contact surface. And as you can see, the contact surface row is the in vitro, with the intracellular volumes. And for the other 6 parameters, so here you have 2 parameters for transport in the normal brain, which is non-molar, and these parameters here are for the transport between the blood and the interstitial fluid. Okay, so basically we have few data and we estimate the parameters. So those 6 parameters, I mean. And this is what we got. So panel A is the forcing function. Okay? It's set by itself, completely independent of the rest, and this is something I have already showed you. This is the concentration of temozolomide in the blood, and this is the one compartment model. So this is the forcing function. Then in B, what you have is the interstitial fluid compartment. Temozolomide in the interstitial fluid compartment. So the solid curve will be the normal brain here, normal brain. And here, the dotted line will be the tumor. And then here you have the concentration in the intracellular compartment, so inside the cells. And basically we have data only for these ones. So as you can see, this is why we decided to include the normal brain, because the normal brain here has data. So that's really a reference compartment, basically. So what can you see? You can see that basically there is more temozolomide in the tumor as compared to the normal brain, and this is inferred also from this data, where this data is basically the concentration of temozolomide when you take the whole tumor. You take the whole tumor and then you measure the concentration of temozolomide inside this tumor. So for you, it means that it mixes the interstitial and the intracellular compartments. Okay? So basically, you measure the concentration in both compartments together, because this is the only thing you can do in the biology. And this is where the modeling is interesting. It's because basically now you can separate between the interstitial fluid and the intracellular compartment, because look, now you do have model predictions for the intracellular compartment, and those data are almost impossible to get. And so basically this is one advantage of using modeling, and this is very important. Why? Because the concentration that actually matters to predict the efficacy is the intracellular compartment, is the concentration in the intracellular compartment. because it is really the concentration that will have some efficacy. If the drug do not accumulate in the cells, if the drug stays in the interstitial fluid, it will never be active. Okay? So, as you can see here, in the interstitial fluid, we have what is a threefold, more or less a threefold difference between the interstitial concentration of the normal versus tumor. But here, because of the kinetics of the tumor, when you look at the actual intracellular compartment, now it's only a twofold difference. So as you can see, the cells, the cancer cells are actually better at defending themselves at not accumulating the drug as compared to the normal brain. Okay, so that's it for scaling from in vitro to in vivo. So at this point, we have a model for the mouse, and the idea is to go now for the patient. So how to do that? So what we do is basically we keep the same model structure. So when I say model structure, I mean that, okay? I mean this scheme is going to be the same for the humans, meaning that the equations are going to be the same. And the only thing that is going to be different between the mouse and the humans are going to be two things, the forcing function and the parameters. So the forcing function will be also fitted to the human data. And so the model is the same, so it's a one compartment model. And here we have some human data with a lot of noise. So the deviation that you can see is because we actually fitted the individual data and not the average. And so you start with this forcing function. Okay, so the forcing function again is set just using this data here. Okay, so that is one thing. So now we need to take care of the parameters which are inside the mechanistic model. So to do that, we have done two different ways. So the first way is to use the available human data, because we do have some, and fit the parameters completely independently of the mouse. And the second way is actually to try to scale the parameters using the volumes from the mouse to the human, exactly as what we did between the in vitro and the in vivo case. So let's see the results. Yes. So again, here we have the forcing function. Then by itself, that's the forcing function in patients. And here those are the results for the interstitial fluid and the intracellular compartment. So in blue, you have the predictions with the naive scaling using the volumes, the scaling from the mouse to the humans. And in black, you have the fit of the data. So the data is here. So we do have some data in the tumor of the patients. And again, the solid curves are for the normal brain, and the dashed curves are for the tumor. And basically, as you can see, so the ground truth, what we want is the black, because basically this is where the data is. And so the model is able to fit, the black curves are completely satisfying. On the opposite, as you can see, the blue curves are clearly above the black curves, meaning that the naive scaling of the parameters lead to an overestimation of the concentration in the patient's brain as compared to what is actually expected in the reality. So it basically means that naively scaling the parameters with only taking into account volumes. So taking into account volumes means basically that a human is just a big mouse. You know what I mean? You take the mouse, you make it bigger, and this is what you get for the naive scaling. And basically, this is clearly not working. So, and although some people say that it could actually work. So we have used, I'm not showing this, but we have also used another possibility where you can actually put the volume at the power 2/3, which is an estimation for the surfaces, but this didn't work either. So it means that basically just using the volumes is not enough to scale from one species to another. And we think that it's because several mechanisms may be different, or several protein or enzymes have different levels and different activities between mouse and protein, mouse and humans. And so this requires a bit of work. And you have plenty of literature. I will put some reference about this, but I will stop here about this topic for today. So just a brief conclusion. So basically what we have seen is that when we scale from in vitro to in vivo, we are able to have a mathematical model that will provide more details at the level of the mechanism, at least, more details than what is currently possible to estimate just using the experiments. In our case, we estimated the intracellular concentrations, whereas the biologists were unable to estimate it. And the next step is that scaling from one species to another is clearly more complicated than just using the volumes. In this particular case of temozolomide, scaling with the volumes didn't work, and actually scaling with the surfaces didn't work either. So this is a whole field of research, and I will put some references if you want to go through it in more detail. So I will stop it about for this part of my lecture about brain tumors. Do you have any questions? Okay, if not, let's continue to another